Welcome to Proper DIY Garden Series. Today is the day of lots of little jobs in the garden, plus a very special delivery. You're more than welcome to join me, but you've got to keep up. Deal? So yes, quite a blustery day here in East Anglia today. It's a nice summer's day and it's quite warm, no rain on the way, but it is really quite windy. But we're having better weather than the rest of the country, so I can't complain too much. So yes, today is a day of lots of jobs around the garden, and I've got a whole list of them. If you want to follow me, then be my guest. And also, I've just had a really special delivery. So I think I need to finish watering these plants and go and bring them in. Having a new garden with 0 plants in it means that I've been buying and collecting plants since the start of the spring, in readiness to plant them in various areas. But in the meantime, it does mean that I need to keep them well watered because they're still all in pots, which is definitely a challenge now we're getting into summer. Now the weather has really warmed up, this is an absolute daily task. I've also got this mini greenhouse which is acting as a bit of a nursery for both bedding plants and for my no-dig vegetable patch. And I mustn't forget about my pallet planter at the front of my house, which also needs a daily watering as the soil in these pallet pockets dries up within just a couple of hours. With the watering over, I can now bring in the delivery I've had this morning of a load of oak whiskey barrels. Some of them I just need to tighten up the hoops on, which have come loose during transit, and although they're obviously very heavy, I found that with a trolley or just rolling them along, you can fairly easily manoeuvre them around the garden. So these are genuine oak whiskey barrels. You can tell that just by one sniff of the inside. That's quite potent, that is. They're obviously a few years old, but they're made out of proper oak. And if you buy these singly off the internet, they probably cost you 60, 70 pound. And if you bought one from like a garden centre, maybe 80, 90, 100 pound. Now I've just purchased 6 to my wife's dismay, which means that the cost comes down to about 30 to 35 pound each, which I think is a blimmin' good deal. But we're running behind time, so I'll tell you later what I'm going to use them for. I think what I've just put on is a little bit chunky. I really do need to cut it down just so compost can operate a little bit more efficiently. The bigger you put in, the harder it is to break down. Not that I'm going to cut all of these into little bits, but when they're about 3-4 foot long, it's maybe a bit over the top, you know. So I'm so glad that one of the first things I did here was to make this compost bin, because I've been adding to it for the last maybe 2 months since I built it. I don't know when I built it, and it's now almost full. And that's exactly why I built it so big. Now when it does get to the top, which will be probably in a few weeks' time, I think what I'll do is I'll just finish off the other side here, turn it, put it all into that, and then for the rest of the summer and going into autumn, I've got an empty bin again. But it's not going to be long before it's full. And I hope that this time next year, I'll at least be seeing some of the benefits of it. Else the whole thing would be a complete waste of time. But at least I know it's cooking. I actually bought a thermometer. It's actually a compost thermometer that you can get off of Amazon. Fairly cheap and cheerful. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's got 3 areas where it says it's either warm, active or hot, and you really want to be in the active range. So if I put this right into the middle, it's about 1/2 meter long, which means you can really measure the middle. Let's have a look, see what it is. So that appears to be on the low end of warm, which is completely underwhelming because it's a lot warmer than that the last time I checked a couple of weeks ago. So I think what's happened here is that it's actually dried up. We haven't had any rain for a long time, and the whole decomposition process has just like stopped because there's just not enough moisture in there. So the next time I'm in this area with a hose, I'll give this a good sprinkling. I also had a cover over it. I'm taking that cover off, so if it does rain, it will help it. I mean, it's always going to break down, but if you can get a good heat out of it, it's just going to go quicker and a little bit more successful. So I think I need to just dampen this up, get it going again, and then it'll be okay for next summer. So the next job around the garden today is to give a second coat to this fence that I painted a couple of weeks ago and is looking really quite patchy. I'm not sure why Ronseal call this one coat timber care when one coat is obviously not enough. Anyway, time to give it a second coat. Since my review of this paint sprayer a few weeks ago, I've now purchased a larger reservoir as I found that the small reservoir I was having to fill up so often I was stopping literally every few minutes. I've used this sprayer a few times since my review on it, and I must say, at least for fences, it's absolutely excellent and I would highly recommend it. And now, having used the bigger reservoir, if anyone's thinking about using this for painting fences, buy the bigger reservoir as soon as you can. It's just going to make your life easier and the job quicker. So that is looking a lot better, and I've just realised I haven't told you what I'm going to use the barrels for. Well, it's actually going to be 2 things. First of all, they're a really good source of oak, so I'm going to use them in some of the projects. And secondly, in my new, but not developed yet, jungle garden, I'm going to use them to give the area a bit of height and actually put some plants on. Now for now, I'm just putting them in a temporary position just to house some of the plants that I've been buying over the last few months for my jungle garden. But eventually they'll go somewhere similar and give height to this very new piece of ground. Until then, I'm just putting them around the garden for decoration. And as I said, at some point I'll break a couple of them up and they'll become a good source of oak in some of my future projects. To be honest with you, at £30 or £35 a head, I don't think that's a bad price. So this whole area is going to change soon, and this is going to be my jungle garden. The grass is going to go, and I'm going to do some interesting things with the fence. And at that point, these barrels will come back near enough in the same position, but at least they give height to some of the shrubs and the plants that I've got, rather than just putting them on the floor. And even in this temporary position, I'm glad I've got them here, because it's changed this area totally in just a matter of minutes. So really pleased with that. So I think that's probably quite enough for today. It's getting a little bit late, and I've done, I think, quite a lot as well. So I think it's time. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? You knew I was going to say that, didn't you? But I think today I've deserved it. I've got quite a lot done, but there's always so much left to do as well. But tomorrow's another day, so everything's going to have to wait until then. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please check out the other ones on our channel, and please subscribe. And please go and have a look at our Patreon page, where you can support the channel. Crikey, it's sunny. You can support the channel. You can see extra video and extra nonsense like this every weekend. So until next time, I don't know if I'm allowed to drink on YouTube. It's probably going to upset someone, isn't it? Until next time, I'll see you then. Ah, nice.